What is up, everybody? How we doing? It's Monday night. Rumble seat's already on. Don Terry's coming in right now. All right, everybody, real quick. Yeah, Don, can you delete Don's? Don't anybody don't share your username with anybody. Don't post it anywhere. That's your personal thing. So Don Terry, I just erased your comment. I did with Brian Hammond earlier today on social media. That's not to be shared. Or if you're going to share the name, don't say the numbers, but don't share it. That's part of what I want to talk about tonight. But first, what's up, everybody? Walleye Fest, baby. Here it is. It's this week. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Everything about it. It's exciting. I've been sitting in this spot all day long, and that doesn't sound exciting. But I can assure you, myself and my team, my incredible team, are working diligently. This is all coming together. I was testing today with my developers. We went through the whole process of submission and submitting fish in your dashboard, doing it, whether you're doing it the CPR, the virtual method, or whether it's being done at a measuring station. Very, very, very exciting and very easy on your phone. And all the testing we did were on our phones, so I know exactly what everything looks like, because all of us will be doing entry from our phones on the water or on the web at the blah, 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 blah. Everything will be done on our phones. Okay. So that's how I've been practicing. I've been doing a whole fake derby today. I've entered a ton of fish. We're getting all the feedback, working out a few of the last minute bugs, but today's Monday. Wednesday's opening day. By Wednesday, we'll have the video out that will be posted on the website, showing everybody the exact process on how you'll enter the fish. And I promise you, it's very simple. Everybody's in their dashboard. That is your home inside Walleye Fest. Okay, for this year, for this derby, maybe for the rest of the year, because Walleye Fest is this weekend. Okay, but it will continue after that on a smaller scale every month that walleye season's open on this lake. So we'll have ice derbies, we'll have stuff all year. So that username is yours. That's your key to get into your dashboard. And your dashboard is going to be your historical record. You will always have those pictures of everything you've entered, of every board you were in. Eventually, that will be like your fishing home, like you'll keep your records in there, all that stuff. And where we are today is nowhere near. My development team has only built the rough draft. We framed it in. We got the walls and the ceiling on it, and it works perfect. Windows are in. It works. And it's going to be fine for this weekend to do what we need to do. But we are going to be expanding this to where that username is your unique key to get into your Walleye Fest dashboard. And that will be just like your think of it with the same level of importance and able to collect things as like your Facebook page. This is your fish book or whatever the hell you call it. Or I don't even know what I'm going to call it, but it will keep all your records in there. And at some point, again, the people that are on board, you're the first ones ever to be a part of this, of what it's going to be. It's starting here. This is the nucleus, and it's building speed, and I think of it like the wheels on a locomotive. You see those old trains, and when they started from scratch, from standing still, they'd start and the wheels would be spinning like this, whether it was to heat up the steel or to get a little motion or some traction. But finally it grabs. And once it grabs, hold on, baby, because it's full throttle. Whoa, all the way down the tracks. This is the start of the wheel spin. Everybody that's with us on this journey right now is going to always be able to say, I was the first. I was part of the first. This was the first class. This is the first run through of the start of this new idea of what tournament fishing can be, what I think I want it to be, at least of what I create, to where I love competition. If you keep score, I want to win. If you don't keep score, I'm great. Go all day long, do whatever. But if you want to keep score, then I want to win. But then I like the idea of having options, choices. Options are the key. Optional leaderboards, OLBs. What do you want? What in the future do people want? How do we want to subcategorize ourselves? Because we can do it any way we want. You could have, Walleye Fest weekend could be like the old clam bakes at Hinderwaddles, and the company put it on for its employees. And so you could have your own private, or you could go to an open one where it was just that. It was open to whoever bought a ticket. Or sometimes multiple companies would be there, or multiple divisions of the same company. And so you could segregate yourself down a little bit. And let's say the local National Grid House or whatever, wanted to have just amongst their own guys. They could, in the future, have their own optional leaderboard. They could have their own OLB for just their group of guys, and no different than anything else we do. You all are the beginning of this, and the sky's the limit. The sky is the limit. There is no limit to what we can do and how far we want to take this. You want to have some way to have guys be able to earn their way to a pro level, and have the walleye world stand up and go, hey, this is cool. Let's do this all over the place. This is something that we're all a part of together. Everybody that's already signed up, we're over the 500 mark now already. It's going up every day, 500 just in the main board, but all of the optional leaderboards, all of the OLBs have somebody in it except for one division. And it's shocking to me, honestly. The shore division has had nobody sign up for it. I honestly thought that was going to be the highest OLB. I really did. I thought that there was a large, and maybe they still will show up. Maybe they don't know about it. I don't know. I thought there would be a large group of people that fish. There's a lot of guys that fish just the canal. They might not have a boat. They don't have any other, but the canal's good fishing, and they go there, whether it's on the west end or the east end. We're putting a measuring station at the east end because there's a lot of people that will fish that canal for opening day every year, for the Derby every year on opening weekend. And so I thought they would want to be in an OLB that was, well, yeah, Vinny, because then you're limited to shore, but that's the point. For the people that only are going to be able to fish from shore anyway, they could get into their own category. How many places on a night of lake can a guy walk out and fish from shore? Tony Cesario. Well, in the spring, especially for our Derby, when you can absolutely and positively, and Don Terry's son caught a 27-incher the night of the Derby. I think it was Sunday night or Monday night afterwards. from Don's place on shore in 3 foot of water. So I can think of the canals on both ends that are public access, both sides on both ends. You have Oneida Shores where you can cast from shore. You have South Shore Boat Ramp. You have Chapman Park. You have Williams Beach, maybe. I don't know the law over there. You have to check that. You can fish from, you can go into the state park down at Verona Beach. You can go over and fish from shore right at Godfrey Point. There's another state access somewhere on the North Shore there by Jewel where the guys fish and park there on shore. You can go to Taft Bay Park. There's apps in Cleveland right there with the fishing pier. You could fish down at the end of the road behind the old Circle K or the Circle K there, the old Nice and Easy in Constantia. Taft Bay Park has a public access spot. Lighthouse Park here on the river, Toad Harbor, the end of Toad Harbor Road. You could be out there in waders. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of places I just named. What did I just name? 20 places. And any one of those places this time of year, especially at a night bite, could have big derby winning fish cruising that would be best targeted from shore. That's why I thought, hey, I put a shore division in. Listen, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And when you go to make those decisions, you go, oh well, hey, I gave it a shot. Nobody liked it. So moving on. Put something else in. This isn't. Nothing is any one thing all the time. You can fish from Don Terry's backyard. So 12 minutes. All right. We'll do a quick run through here. Rumble Seat, Don Terry, we're going to talk to Keith, my brother. What's up, my friend? John Karnowski, Thad Lance, so excited. Right on, me too. John Burrows, when are you coming home, Jigging Rap? Hello from Florida. Thad Lance, hello. Merlin, what's up, Wiz? 3 for 4 so far on what? Rumble Seat, greetings, Scott Tagata. Hey, Salmon Slayer. It felt good to be out there the other day, Scott. It did. It was, I really would have liked the third person on the boat because we could have stayed out there and caught a few more fish because they were thick as thieves right there in that mouth. It was crazy. And for all of those, I don't know if you saw it or not, but when I cleaned those salmon, Scott's talking about Saturday morning. My buddy Bill Morey and I went out salmon fishing. We went out trolling. Listen, they were salmon around. We were going to go look for them specifically first, but they're mixed in with browns in most spots, and we were going trolling. I hadn't fished in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We went out there. Wind was howling offshore, and we hit a fish first pass on the way out, and then we hit a small brown, and then a big salmon. That salmon was second fish of the day, and throttled it. Got him on a 4-color lead cord, and I hear a guy yell from another boat, and he waves, and I'm in Oswego, and I don't know as many guys in Oswego anymore as I used to when it's been quite a few years since I chartered out of there. I still do know some of them, and I couldn't quite tell, and I'm like, yeah. Turns out it was Scott. I didn't know. He goes, yeah, that was me. I'm like, it could have been the president. I wouldn't have known. I would not have known. Am I frozen? No, I'm not frozen. One more wake up and it's on, Mike Urema. Yes, it is. Opening day is Wednesday. Wednesday. My boat is sitting in my driveway right now, but I'm most likely going to stick it in the water tomorrow for the rest of the week and weekend. I am signed up. I bought a ticket for my own event. I am not fishing in it, but I will be out in the boat, I think, a time or two, taking some video, going and seeing people. So if you see me in the boat out there, do one of these and I'll come right over and we'll talk on camera, and we'll do, because I'm going to be much more video presence this year. with everybody. And I'm going to ask everybody too that all of the participants, whatever videos you're going to do, we will have a time either during or afterwards, probably afterwards, where I'll have you all send that in. And when we'll put together a big collage video and put it on the website. I would love that. And we'll start doing that every year. So we have that digital memory scrapbook too of everything. Because that's important. And that's going to be a big deal as we get older, as we go on, and it's going to be more than just a table with there's your name. We're gonna all take pictures and we'll all send them in. We'll have a place to do it after the Derby's over, and we'll put them all together and we'll do something that everyone will want to go back and watch, like a yearbook, like a video yearbook, I guess. Yeah, like a yearbook, like everybody signs people's yearbook. It'd be the Walleye Fest yearbook. I like that. Look at that, just like that. All right, I got to put the glasses on. I'm going to keep reading. Sean Christ is coming in from Tennessee. Get his ticket tomorrow. Right on, brother. Glad to have you. Good luck. Aaron, John Brown. John Brown. John Burrows, 11-4-2. Get ready. I don't know what that means. November 4th? 2? I don't know, John. John's in Florida. Aaron Lusty, biggest complaint I've had from people I know that bought tickets was ease of navigation to buy tickets. Yeah, we've had a little bit of growing pains there. The designers are working on like I say, they're doing their fine tuning. One of the biggest things we found today, and I found it the very first time I did it, and that's part of testing, is as soon as I would put my username in from my phone, it automatically capitalized the first letter. And come to find out, when he wrote the program for it, he made it as it was case sensitive. And so most all of us, including myself, as soon as I was putting my username in my phone, it was telling me no good, because I was putting the wrong thing in. And I didn't even know it. So he's changing that so it, even if you did put it in, it will, he's putting it in tonight and doing an update. So no matter how you type it in, it'll only take it as lowercase and it'll be fine. It'll fix it for us. But in the meantime, I guess if you're doing it and having a problem, start with on your phone, making sure it's all lowercase when you sign in. So, does it update daily? I only seen 478 20 minutes ago. Well, I estimated I was at 456 this morning, but did I put those numbers up? I put them up yesterday. I was at 456 this morning, but that was at 6:30 in the morning. So I assumed that we'd went up 44, we'd went up 30, and 35 the last 2 nights in a row. So I guess I assumed with all the people I was helping today that there was more that it went up. Sorry. So maybe we're at 478. And no, it updates in real time. So there you go. Yeah, and we know that there's some navigation issues, and we're working on that. And that is part of this first attempt. It is not what it will be. It's the first try. So Merlin's catching bass tonight. Right on, buddy. Mark Webb, what's up, everybody? Mark's back from vacation. E-Tricks. Yeah, Eric, tell me who Chuck is. Chuck Jonick. That name sounds so familiar, and I saw his picture, and it seemed very familiar, but I can't place it. So I saw that he passed, and my condolences. But take a second and type in, tell everybody who he was. Cicero golf instructor, but like at the high school or someplace. Oh, no kidding. The one right there, just north of 31. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Huh. Cicero driving range. Yeah, no shit. Well, I mean, I've been there before, and I've went into the pro shop and bought stuff. So I'm sure that's probably why he looked familiar to me. I knew he looked familiar, but I couldn't place from where. Um, yeah, well, good. He obviously had a very positive effect on a lot of people. If the first five people that tell you about him all rave about him, I'm sure that that's the consensus. And how lucky, and how nice to know a man like that and have a man like that in your life. It's funny without I think of Tony Booth that way for me. I've known Tony since I was fresh out of the military. I was 23, 24 years old. And not only that, Tony taught me two incredibly valuable life lessons that he taught me in one meeting, in one situation. And I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. Um, it was spring of 95. I came home from the Army in 94, middle of 94. And I was living in working in Pulaski at a place called the Sportsman's Lodge in those days. It's gone, long gone. The guy that owned it lived in New Jersey, and the guy that was running it, him and his wife were moving out and getting a house because they were they were married and they were expecting their first child. And funny enough, that guy, Bill Markle, um, from Bill and Kent's excellent guide service, and also um, I see him now on Facebook with his granddaughter that comes over on Wednesdays, and she's adorable. And that's his son, who I knew. I met Bill and his wife Diane before they even had their child. Um, so it goes back a long way. I was a kid. Like I say, it was 94, so I was 23 years old, and so I was living at the lodge. I was living at the lodge, and I was fishing a little bit in the river for myself. I was fishing every day like crazy in the Salmon River because I was right there in Pulaski. It was a fishing lodge. That's what I did. And I ran the place and checked everybody in. And that first salmon season was a good time, let me tell you. But it was an eye opener for me. I didn't really know. I mean, I grew up fishing the Salmon River, but I was too young to understand like guides and doing it for a living and making a living from it and whatever. I was still just a kid. I was home. I didn't know what I was doing. Um, Spring of 95, I go down. I knew a little, and I'd been fishing Lake Ontario since I was 14. I went down, tried to get a job as a first mate. I walked up and down the dock in Oswego right there, the big charter dock, and walked right up to everybody that would talk to me and told them who I was. And I still had a buzz cut in those days. I was fresh. I was less than a year out of the military. Well, I shouldn't say buzz cut. My hair was growing out. And Tony talked to me. Most of them were like, yeah, give me your number and we'll call you. And it was just a nice way of saying no thanks. But Tony talked to me, and shit, we didn't talk for 5 minutes, and he must have thought, good, fresh meat, and that was in the spring. And he said, listen, I need somebody to help us, because he had another captain and first mate, both, Captain Pauly. And it was the two of them up there. But he was doing those midnight walleye trips in Oswego, those trolling trips for the giants. I don't know if anybody's ever done it up there in Oswego, but it's in the spring at night is when you do it mostly. And that was a big deal in those days, a big deal. And they were the most 10-pound plus walleyes that anybody had ever seen around here. And all of a sudden we were catching them, tons of them. And Tony was doing them. And Tony was the leader of the pack, quite honestly, doing them. And he said, I need you just for that. And he said, okay. And so it was within the first couple days of this, and it was like a Tuesday night, whatever, I don't know. And I was supposed to be at the boat at 11:30. The client showed up at midnight, and you fished them through till 6 a.m. and you'd get, somewhere's around daybreak, 5-ish, 4:30 to 5. You'd start switching over to brown trout gear, pick up the speed a little bit, and start sliding out and brown trout fish at the end of the morning. I mean, they were great trips. Amazing trips. Everybody was zonked out most of the time by brown trout time, but that's all right, and well, I was young. My first wife and I were together, and I overslept. And I get a phone call, and I snap up out of bed, and my phone rings, and it's midnight, and Tony's on the other end, and he goes, I'll come back in. He goes, be here by 6 a.m. and your stuff will be sitting on the dock. Click. I'm like, oh man. Nothing I could do. Nothing I could say. I screwed up. Anyway, I go up there. They never went out, turns out. And he knew this when he called me, but that's not the point. The point was I was wrong. It was windy. He didn't end up going out, which was a saving grace, because I'd have felt terrible, even worse, if it really had happened. And, but I get up there and I didn't say a word. I ran, the boat was there. I ran downstairs in the cabin, grabbed my bag and my wet weather gear. I came up. I said, thank you very much for the opportunity. Sorry. And I got off the dock, and I was almost in Oswego. If you come off the dock and there's this way and you cross it, and the cars are parked right there. I was almost to the pavement, and he goes, is that it? I hear him yell out, and I turn around and I go, I can't defend myself. I had the alarm set. I didn't check it. I didn't wake up, and sorry, and he goes, if it ever happens again, we don't even have this conversation. He goes, but you didn't try and bullshit me or make anything up. You owned it. And he said, let's try it again tonight. I was there at like 10 o'clock. I slept the last hour in my truck right in front of the boat. I probably would have went down and slept on the boat just to make sure that nothing could have possibly happened. And he taught me two incredibly valuable lessons in that one situation. Is to come hell or high water, you tell somebody something, you got to be there. You got to be on time. If it's important to you, you're on time, and on time means early. And two was forgiveness. Was, Tony gauged how I handled myself, and he deemed it to be redeeming, and he offered me a second chance. And to this day, I never forget that. And I don't know that I've ever been late for a charter trip since then. Because it left that kind of impression on me. And then also the forgiveness part, the second chance, nothing's a life sentence. You have the ability, we have the ability to change and to do things differently, and to find, second chances redeeming and rewarding, and for everybody, for yourself primarily. But if you're redeemed and happy and self-confident that someone saw some value in you, then you start to radiate that out, and everybody around you feels that same thing and gets pulled right into you. And then it's all everybody feeling good. There's the Walleye Fest community in a nutshell. everybody wanting to do those things that are fun and good, and we're going to have fun. That's the point. That's why I do it all. I want to have fun. I want to have fun with all of you, so much so that I'll organize the whole fun and you guys just come and have it. Share it, be a part of it. Enjoy it. Look forward to it. That's the beauty. And I'll bet you people could tell stories about Chuck, just like I just told about Tony. And I'd be honored if the time ever came where someone told a story like that about me. And I think everybody feels that same way. Those people that make an impression on you and leave a lasting positive impression, because it's not quite the same to leave a lasting negative impression. Obviously, we feel very different about that situation. But yeah, the old man, and he's going strong. He's going strong. And I model things I do after him because of the impression he made on me. So thanks, Boof. Eric Wisniewski. Mike Wazowski. Eric Wisniewski made it for Tony as well. Probably right before I was there. He'll tell you the same kind of stories. So just a testament to my buddy. I didn't mean this to turn into the Tony story, but my dad started Chuck fishing when he was a young kid, Don Terry. My first time there, I went through 4 large buckets of balls on the range, and when I was done, he told me, "Next time you're here, get me. I'll give you a lesson." I asked him how much. He said, "Don't worry about it. You need it." That's awesome, Eric. That's and obviously he cared enough to offer it. I love that story. That's wonderful. Keith, I remember those days at the lodge. Yeah, the old Sportsman's Lodge was a home for wayward fishermen, and boy, you met a lot of characters there. And Keith would tell you, my buddy Keith, who started fishing with me in '95. We're still together. Matter of fact, we lost our third, Keith's partner, longtime fishing partner, Steve Brody. We lost him Daytona Sunday a couple years ago out of the blue. Man, we all caught a lot of fish together and had a lot of fun in those days on the Salmon River. Salmon River was a whole different world in those days, and I got there in the mid '90s. The guys that were there in the mid '80s will tell you the same thing, but way more hardcore about the stories of the old days and snagging. And I was at the very end of that, but it was still like, if you've never been through every day on the river the whole month of October and half of September, and you wear the same waders for 40, 50 days in a row, and it's hot one day and it's freezing the next, and raining, and then the circus on the weekends comes to town. I swear, it's salmon season is a different world, and it is so social. And in a lot of ways, it's such a good time. I'm happy to have had those memories in those days, man. We had a lot of fun. Giant fish just jumped. You hear him, babe?
No, really?
Giant fish just jumped right out in front of the river, right there. Yeah, let's go. He heard me talking about Walleye Fest. He heard me talking about Boofa. He's like, "All right, I give up. I know it's going to catch me. I give up." Just got my iPilot conversion kit for my Minn Kota delivered today. Edward Mann. Walleye Fest will be his maiden voyage. Can't wait. Great job, Matt. See you at the kickoff party. Yes, the kickoff party Friday night at the pier, just like we did. And I talked to Corey over at Corey runs the place over to Bruton Speedway, and so we are sponsoring this Friday night's race. It's the opening race of the year at Bruton Speedway for 2024. we're sponsoring, and then they're letting us use their grounds on Sunday for the awards ceremony. Well, Corey called me today, and he's like, he goes, how's everything going, and ticket sales, and everybody knows that if you say when you get there, at the ticket booth to get into the race, hey, I have a Walleye Fest ticket, they're going to give you a reduced price to get into the race, even though I think the full price is like $12 or $15. It's incredibly reasonable. If anybody, I got a promotion I want to do between now and Friday night for the VIP lounge upstairs. If anybody would be interested, I got to think of how I would do that. Probably who can share the Walleye Fest information the most places. So that's awesome, Ed. I hope that conversion kit works out good. Don Terry, Tony Buffa is awesome. Yes, I said it. I love Tony. He's the best. Scott Tagata says got a 7-pound eye at the wall last week on a black and silver evil eye. Huh. Scott, I had clients oversleep. Yeah. Oh, I've had plenty of clients oversleep, but they're the client. So John Burrows, Chuck Jonick. Am I saying it right? Jonick? I remember him running Northern Pines a long time ago. Oh, I remember that place. Yeah. For the record, Bob has no story about me. Just for the record, Rumble Seat, he says, I'd tell a story about you, but you made me sign that non-disclosure agreement. And that's right. That's right. There are many people out there with NDAs. Rumble Seat's one of them. And you can't trust what Bob says anyway. Combat Zone is right. The first year I rode the drift boat, there was such an outcry because that was 94 was the last year of snagging. 95, it was supposed to be done, but the state caved, and there were so many people up there that they were like, all right, well, you can do it one last time, but that's it. And I remember floating down through the schoolhouse pool, and at the time I was rowing a green wooden drift boat that was the form boat for a buddy of mine who had built his boat out of fancy lumber. This was all the stuff that they built the form out of. And it wasn't the most seaworthy craft in the world. It made it down the river for for 2 more years. So I'm not complaining. But like I had snag hooks coming in the boat, bouncing off the side of it, cracking through the plywood. Like that was combat. I had never seen anything like that. Big time. So, all right, let's talk real quick. I mean, if everybody wants, I know we were going to talk last week about a couple more presentations. We can go through 3 here real quick. Give each a few minutes and talk about them. So go ahead. So I'll start with this. That's a shiver minnow. That's the glow goby. Anybody who watched me last year all summer long, I was fishing on or around rocks and reefs. Hook and eyes, we're still. I got with another tournament director, and we're discussing that with his contact at the DEC. I believe right now that we are going to be fine because it's not considered culling. There was a fine gray line in the culling question. It's still being worked on. All right. So when I was fishing around rocks last year and up on the edges of reefs, I was throwing this up into 4 or 5 foot of water. If I was getting it snagged up too often, then I would run it just like this. Ooh, wrong way. With no treble on it. Just like this bear. And I would throw it up in those shallow rocks and snap it. I don't want to say rip it, snap it. Because in that shallow water, without the weight of the depth on top of it, these things just fly off the bottom. Like this, like they're being shot. And where they come down, you never quite know, because they, that big tail really sends them one side to another. So they kind of go like this is the theory. But in that shallow water, I don't think I have any idea where that thing's going to go. When you snap it, and I usually fish this on my 6.3 or my 6.8 black rain, my JT black rain, because the tip is the extra fast tip on that black rain series, and it really it just shoots them. And I think, in my humble opinion, I think that bing off the bottom is the trigger. And then it triggers that chase mode, because it took off, and all of a sudden that fish goes, and boom, he's in chase mode. Wherever it goes, he's going to get it, even if it gets all the way back to the bottom and he's coming behind it and pins it. Around rocks, I think these things shine over anything else. And the only thing close to this that's second is the next presentation, and that is a bucktail. Sorry, I got the stinger wrapped up in it. And that's a bucktail. And the difference with a bucktail, though, is it's slower. You can rip it up and snap it up as fast as you want, but that bucktail slows it down on the fall, and it doesn't take off so much and really activate that chase mode. If any of you have saltwater experience, especially for saltwater game fish, you'd be shocked at how fast you have to reel something to get those ocean fish to engage. And what I mean by that is to engage attack mode. You've triggered something in them by that speed. They don't know what it is. They just know it's trying to get away. And the more it tries to get away, the more it must irritate them. And now they got to go kill it. So I think when those fish are not super on the feed orientated and you're trying to trigger reaction strikes, I think this style bait, and I don't, there's 5 or 6 companies that make these. I don't know who's better or best. I like these. I use a few other ones. That's personal. They all catch fish. I mean, it's like arguing apples to oranges, but they all still catch fish. Bucktail, again, the one I just showed you is one of Mike's that I won. Let's see here. Okay, so both of these are deadly. These were tied by Rick out to Apps in Cleveland. See that narrow head? And so there is a difference in the head style. They're both that flat type head, but okay, let's see. There's that one. You can see the difference in the width of them. This one, this size, is a 5/8. I was using a half, just one size smaller than this. I don't see any that I have open. My jig boxes. So this one still wet. So this one was the brown and black. This is the 1/2 ounce. See how there's no paint left on that head? That's because this was thrown in rocks all summer long. The shallower, the better. You know, and it just pounded in. But when you snap this off the bottom, even though it looks thin here, you know, depending on how much tail they have on them, the angle of it, the kind of hair. To me, I think that's more of a feeding instinct because it's slower and they're watching it longer and then grabbing it. So to me, that means it looks better. I don't know. Yeah. So the culling question, we'll so the culling question for the 2 boards, the best 5 and for the most keepers, those are virtual entry only. So that fish could be immediately released. You don't have to put it in your live well and transport it to have it measured. Let me think about that for a second. And if you were in the Derby, and so the only multiple walleye board you could be in, you have to do it virtually. That's the only choice you have. You can't come bring those fish into a measuring station. So as far as the culling goes, you wouldn't be transporting them for those 2 boards at all. And anything else, yeah, if you put it in your live well, it's part of your daily bag limit for the day. And if one of your 5 fish that you've kept for your limit that day is going to be weighed in, then legally, because you kept all 5 of your fish, then you're done for the day, I think. So yeah, the culling question we're still working on again, and I have spoke with somebody, and I spoke with 2 people about it. That we'll have a decision on that. I just don't have one ready for tonight. But I don't know that do you tip the bucktail with a worm minnow leech or do you fish it plain? When I'm snapping it, Thad, when I'm snapping those bucktails, I'm not putting anything on them. I have messed around with a little bit of a straight tail worm, just to slow the fall rate down a little bit. But no, because you'd rip everything right off. In the old days, it was a bucktail and a worm. I used to fish stuff on these style heads. You know, I keep going the wrong way. That black and purple, and you put a half a worm on it, but then you just went like this on the bottom. You know, and you can still do it, and it still catches fish. But in this particular instance, when I'm talking about that jig pattern, I'm talking about snapping them and getting a reaction strike. And then last but not least, and not least by any means, is the blade bait. And that's another Tony Buffer right there. Because 5 years ago, like one of my daughter's birthdays is in May, and she wanted to go fishing. Her late father used to take her fishing on her birthday, and so I didn't even have a boat that year. I called Tony and booked a trip with him, and he goes, don't bring anything, Matt. He goes, I got everything all set up. He goes, we're fishing blade baits. I mean, I knew what a blade bait was, but the only blade bait I knew of was um, a head and sonar. And he goes, no, no, no. And so we went down there, and that day we were fishing the Bass Pro Shops XPS blades, silver, gold. Well, that was really it. It was between those two colors, and between, so there was 4 of us in our party plus Tony. There was 5 of us on a huge northeast wind day. Searched all over in rough, cold weather. And I think we had 12 keepers that day, and we had probably that many shorts. And that was the first time I'd ever caught that many, really caught a fish ever, honestly, jigging a blade bait. And very quickly, I fell in love with it. And to this day, there's something about a blade. I mean, this spring already, I caught a fish. I caught a lake trout in 155, 150 foot of water on the bottom with a Homie the Clown. I1 blade bait, straight up and down, and he smacked it, no question. Boom, woofed it. So there's something about the vibration of a blade bait that they can't resist. There are, I just mentioned 2, the XPS blades from Bass Pro, Mike at I1. I also fish these. Man, sometimes I'm terrible with names. I got them at Lakeside Outfitters. They're not Mega Bass. They're Demiki. I was gonna say Daiichi, but those are hooks. The Demiki Vault. Lakeside makes one. Rotjaws. There's a lot of different. I can't name them all. There's a lot of people that make blades. Some people make blades. Some people paint blades. You know, there's a lot of different styles. There's a lot of different techniques. You know, my tried and true. I don't even have one. Look at this. He's bent. That's an original homie right there. No hooks on him anymore. There's multiple. I've got videos on it. There's multiple different retrieve cadences that work. I personally, day in and day out, I get into a standard routine. It's kind of my search pattern. Is I'm lifting this bait about 12 to 18 inches off the bottom fairly quickly. You know, like that. And as soon as it gets to the top, I drop my tip. It's falling. I'm taking up the line about the same time that it hits bottom. Now, what I will say is with a good high quality braided super line, you can feel that bite on the fall instantly. So even if it's slack, you'll still feel it. That's my normal routine. I know some people that snap them super hard and high and fast, or lope them along, or drag them, or straight retrieve them. Boy, there's a lot of ways to fish these baits, and every way works. Think about that for a second. I don't necessarily know if you could fish it wrong. If you feel it vibrating, it's working. So if every time I lift up on it, if I feel that, no matter what blade it is, I know it's working and it's got a chance to get bit. So I just keep doing it. Just like that. You can change it up. Some days they want it faster. Some days they want it slower. The colder the water, the slower and the slower and lower, as opposed to, you know, frequency and vibration play a big role in it. And there's no one way to fish them. That's the beauty of it. Throw it, figure it out, get bit a couple times, see what they like, listen to what happens. Any of these presentations can put the winning fish in your boat this weekend. Current water temp, I thought Tony said yesterday or 2 days ago it was 46, 47. I saw my first bass bed 2 days ago, Saturday, off the dock. It's the very first one of the season. So it's got to be in the high 40s somewhere, I would think. Maybe a touch warmer in here. Stan Holoko coming up from the Allentown, PA area to fish the Derby. Looking forward to meeting some of you. Yeah, please come on down to the kickoff party Friday night. We started talking about that earlier. The kickoff party Friday night. I have a pile of fish that we are going to prepare and do a little happy hour from 6 to 7. Cash bar all night. Josh Deakins and the Grizzly Ridge Band in some way, shape, or form are going to be playing about 7:30, 8 o'clock for an hour or two. Some great country music. They got a new song out. I'm not sure what they're going to do yet, but it's going to be awesome. We saw them Saturday night over at Sharky's, and it was fantastic. So we're going to have a lot of fun Friday night, and it's a good way to come out and meet people in our community. This is our community. If you've bought tickets, you're in. I mean, you've said to everybody, I'm a part of this. So come on over, be a part of it. Let's have fun. That's what it's about. It's a party. It's a kick-off party. And I'm going to do a bunch of fish. Chuck and I said we're going to cook it all up and put it all out for everybody. I've got I was going to do for Christmas last year, Feast of the Seven Fishes. And then I just went Saturday and put spring king salmon on that list and a couple beautiful big browns. I had some browns last winter. We had some lake trout from this spring. We've got perch, sunfish, walleye, a lot of perch. I don't think there's any pike or pickerel. I don't think there's any bass. Oh, there's striped bass and there's fluke. So there's some saltwater fish too that we're going to do up and put out for everybody to enjoy while you're having beers and drinks and talking and telling fish stories. So I can't wait. So super excited. We're coming up on an hour. Oh, give me a sec. Scooby-Doo. Great sound effects. I aim to please. $59 to $60 today in Lower South Bay. Wow. Yeah, 45, 46 in the middle of the lake. Sounds about right. That was halfway to the islands. Wow. Yep, that warms up in there for sure. All right, everybody. Thank you. The rest of the week, you never know. Stay tuned. We're going to do some live stuff. We'll show you some behind the scenes. I'm going to do a little bit more this year with video and make sure that people know what's going on. There'll be plenty of updates this week. Still to come. I'll announce them as they go. Parsons Lures, if anybody saw the picture earlier tonight, sent so much stuff for a prize pack that I split it in two. And I'm going to put them in. I wrote it down. There it is. We'll put one of the Tarson's pools. One of the Parsons Lures gift packs in the number one main board is one of the prizes for something other than first place. And then we'll do it also in the kayak board for somebody for one of the places in the kayak board. I've got 3 JT rods that are going to be given away. One in the main board for first place. That's a 7'1" JTX mag medium light. That's an unbelievable rod. And I've got 2 6'6" panhandler ultralight rods. It's like no other ultralight you've ever fished. It's so responsive. It's so much fun to fish, and that's going to go for one of them will be first place in the yellow perch OLB, and one will be in the panfish OLB as prizes along with cash. So we've got a Paul DeLima gift basket. The great people at Paul DeLima donated. How is the water level? So I live on the river, my house here, and it's come up. My wife and I are out on the dock fishing today, and I would say it's still about 6 inches low, but it's pretty close. And when I say 6 inches, I mean a literal vertical 6 inches, because it's measured on our dock and you can see it. So it's about 6 inches low. And listen, South Shore can sometimes historically be a little shallow anyway. The docks are in. We went to everything. Courtney and I drove around the lake Sunday, and docks are in everywhere. We drove into Nida Shores, South Shore, Godfrey Point. Docks were all in. There is always Bruton Boatyard in the river. He's got a very nice, deep dock ramp. The docks are always in. You're in the river anyways where it's protected. So he's an option. There's a couple other private marinas, A&P, Freemax. On the North Shore, you got Spruce Grove. There's a couple places where you can also launch privately. And yes, it costs maybe a little more, but some of those private ones, listen, they got to make a living too. And they're good, nice launches. So, you have other options. You do have other options. I have 3 Minn Kota trolling motors also that I'm giving away. One for the military first responder, that memorial board for our 2 officers. One is going to be, let's see, 7 and 8. So one's going to be for the best 5, and one's going to be for the most keepers. That's a bolt-on transom mount, $150 Minn Kota trolling motor, brand new in the box. They're beautiful. It's an Endura, 30-pound or 30-inch shaft, 30-pound thrust. So some incredible additional prizes. I know I've got a couple other people that I've got to go get stuff from, gift cards, and I know B Hammer's got stuff for us, and I think Nick over at SoCo does as well to give out to people. My goal will always be to give as much as possible to our anglers. That's the point. That's the fun part. Getting stuff, cool stuff. It'll only grow. I promise you that. We're at 1 minute and 3, or 1 hour and 3. All right, everybody. Have a great evening. Love you guys. Keep your tip up. And listen, you'll hear from me all week. All week. Pay attention to an Idle Lake Walleye Fest Derby, the Facebook page, obviously my Facebook page, YouTube, Instagram. We'll be all over it. We got a fun week, and it's going to be a great weekend. Early weather report is mid-60s to low 70s with southeast winds, 5 to 10 both days. A little bit of rain Sunday morning, but it's going to be warm, mild, and not a howling wind. So right on. All right, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. I might even put the boat in tomorrow morning and go fish for a few minutes. So keep your tip up. Walleye Fest, baby.